Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 16 of IGEL Weekly. I'm your host, Andy Whiteside. Chris Feeney's with me. Chris, how's it going?
It is going well, Andy, as always. Thank you for the opportunity to chat once again about a very interesting topic. Looking forward to it.
No, that's great. We kind of do this because we just like doing it partially. Plus, it's good. It's good business, but getting on and talking through some of these blogs gives us a chance to get deeper into them. I had somebody reached out to me yesterday and they said they enjoyed reading the blog, but they got a lot more out of the podcast because we were able to add additional content or context to what the blog covered, and that was good to have somebody give feedback like that. So, Chris, actually, you know what? You and I were just talking about some technical stuff. You're helping my team roll out IGEL to us, our remote users, and with Active Directory authentication. You want to just walk maybe our listeners through what's possible in the world of IGEL in terms of remote users authenticating against AD, even though they're not on the network?
Yeah, so I first ran across this feature, and I was just talking to Jeff Kahlberg a few minutes ago, just making sure I had my ducks in a row. It's a thing called Shared Workplace. It's actually been part of the product for over 10 years, and it is designed to provide configurations that you can assign not just to the user, in this case, a user logging into a directory. And so you can, it works over ICG. And so in your case, you've got folks that are not on the corporate domain using Azure AD or UMS is in the cloud, and it's able to communicate with the domain controller. So you can pull in user information, whether it's, it's groups, users, and then what you can do is, IGEL will boot up as normal, and you'll just log in with the domain account. And you could also, there's also cool, we've had these IGEL smart cards, can't really see them, but they usually come in every box of a device. And for a time there, you could assign configurations, install this, and then your user configurations are assigned to the card, very, very similar. So I haven't actually played with that to test it out. But the idea is you can personalize that device even more. And what's interesting is OS 12, people have probably heard about it. Maybe I got my first look and feel of the conceptual ideas around it, but it will, hope I'm not spilling the beans. Let's just say there'll be some user personalization pieces that, out of the box, when you first get it, you'll authenticate and bam. So the idea of authentication is going to be big in terms of the customization of the device, the management, very similar to something that we don't want to bring up on this podcast because they are a competitor, but you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I mean, and there's some cool stuff you can do with it. I mean, you can change wallpapers, left-hand mouse, right-hand mouse. I mean, you can flip the monitors around, all kinds of things you can do basically when you use that. So I'm playing around with that. And in your case, you can log in and pass the credentials into Citrix and auto launch into a virtual desktop.
And the whole point there is to be able to use an Active Directory login from anywhere to log into IGEL, and then at that point, you would use those same credentials ideally to log into whatever the next session that you're trying to connect to is.
Yeah, obviously, and so that's we're getting that squared away, and then get your folks using it here hopefully next week once you get everything squared away.
Well, let's talk about today's blog. It was one written by Carl Gersh back in April 19th. And it's the title of it is Combating the Tsunami of E-Waste. And as you know, that's kind of near and dear to my heart. I've got a nonprofit that's stood up to try to tackle that. But man, it kills me every time I've got to put a bunch of cables in a box and take them to the dump or take them somewhere else, or hope that PC that I took to the dump securely and safely gets repurposed and doesn't just go into a dump when I'm not looking. It's a big problem here in the US and across the world. You want to give us just kind of a concept of what this blog is talking about?
Yeah, I mean, at the personal level, like you, I mean, you've been in this business a long time. I know behind me, there's a door that goes to my attic. I walk in and I don't want to say tsunami, but there's a growing pile of either cardboard boxes or boxes filled with old techie equipment, cables, monitors. I'm looking at my right at an old Dell monitor that I will never probably use again. It still works, but it's served its purpose. And this stuff collects over time. And so locally we have a waste place. I can take my truck and drive over there. And when I get there, sometimes it's amazing just to see the e-waste area itself is its own, it's a recycling place, but a lot of that stuff, in many cases may not be recyclable. But it's boxes and boxes of stuff, and people pull up and, they dump all kinds of things. Right. And so, near and dear to IGEL, part of our whole corporate mission is, to make, I'm not going to spiel the whole thing, but the very end of that is, a better planet. Right. And it sort of leads into our software story, our repurposing story, which we'll get into here in a little bit. But yeah, there is a ton of devices out there that, if folks aren't aware, I don't know what I can do with it. I'll just throw it away, the status quo. And a big part of what we try to do, and Carl and I talk about this, is, combat the status quo, the idea that I just do the same thing over and over again. And we're like, no, stop the madness. Yeah. So we can talk through about that. You highlighted that. Yeah.
54 million metric tons a year. Isn't that insane?
That's crazy. I mean, the fact that they mentioned the Eiffel Tower, because one of our last family vacation trips was actually, we went to Europe. We were in Paris back when the Women's World Cup was going on, and seeing the Eiffel Tower up and close and personal, I mean, it's pretty impressive. But and it stands out there in the city of Paris. But 4,500 of them, I mean, that's crazy when you think about the size of Manhattan. That's a tremendous amount of waste. And where does it go? I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah.
I don't think you can't really fathom seeing that up close and personal.
And so what most people do, like you said, they just store it in their house, and eventually they're going to move, they're going to pass, something's going to happen, and it's got to go somewhere. And there's no super easy answer. One answer is certainly to do what you're proposing here with IGEL, and I'm doing with my nonprofit, and what my son learned in Boy Scouts, which is reuse. Now, I will highlight something real quick. I've got a RX 420 in my hand here. The fact that a computer can get this small, that's going to have an impact too, right? We're reducing the footprint all the time, but it still counts. There's still e-waste. So, what the future of this is let's reduce the size, let's reduce the amount, but let's also reuse as much as we can. And that's really kind of the IGEL message.
Yeah, the only thing I hope that never gets reused is toilet paper. I'm not sure about that, but totally. I mean, there's I'm rethinking. I was using a UD Pocket on. I've got two old Lenovo laptops, and I was, that works great. But loading a local operating system on it these days, I just let me just try IGEL OS directly on it, and I'm running some analytics on it to see what kind of performance I can get off these things. Thanks to our friends at, in this case, Liquidware, but I can also do the same with ControlUp or others, and just kind of get a sense of that. And so I think that that story there, be able to take these things and repurpose them rather than throw them away, and then have tools that you can find out, hey, is this thing gonna have enough horsepower? I mean, I remember being, it was a hospital down in Jacksonville, and we went in the back room, and they're replacing their older thin clients, which were Teradici devices, which they, in a sense, they had to get off of that. They were only focused on one protocol, VMware, and they were switching to Citrix. So there was a need to replace. But in the back room was a whole bunch of old PCs, Core i5s, Core i7s. And I was like, what are you going to do with these? Those are old machines. I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, that's a very fast thin client right there.
Right.
So anyways, we've discussed that many times before, but that's hopefully that will help make a dent in some of this global e-waste.
Well, and part of this is a greener world, and green means a couple of things, right? Green means doing the right thing for the planet. It also means money. I personally had a customer that was donated a bunch of machines to my nonprofit, and I didn't have the heart to tell them that I couldn't use them. So they're sitting in a storage unit in Stuart, Florida. Cost me $60 a month. It's 160 old thin clients. I've got to take a trip down there and take those to some e-waste facility, because I can't think of anything I can do with them. Not only do I need to figure out a way to make it a green result, but also got to quit spending my green every month, storing those things in a storage unit.
There you go. Yeah. And on that same note, I mean, on the other side of this green coin is electricity.
Yeah.
We've seen where by repurposing old devices, battery power actually is extended in many cases, or even less of a load on the operating on the disk if it's installed locally. If it's running off UD Pocket, that's one thing, but um, not having as many read-write cycles on the operating system is reducing electricity, in some cases. Right. So there's many aspects to this.
So here's a quick talk about the paragraph I'm highlighting now. I had a call with a large corporation a couple weeks ago, and we were pitching to them the idea that we could help repurpose their machines when they retired them. And the person said they couldn't do that because of security requirements. Plus, they had absolutely no doubt that all of their employees, all of them, did the responsible thing when they were getting rid of their e-waste, both company e-waste as well as personal. And I just had to, I started to argue that and challenge that. And the article here says 20% of global e-waste is responsibly managed and taken care of. The fact that someone would think that their entire organization didn't have a single individual in it that didn't do the wrong thing is just an astronomically absurd thought to me.
Oh yeah, I mean, human nature would generally tell you that's a false statement based on what we know. What's the more convenient thing? I just throw it in the green bin versus the blue one, right? Yeah. Or I'm not going to take that trip to the dump. I'll just let the guys pick it up at the street or whatever. Yep. So, but yeah, I mean, to me, I look at that and putting the entrepreneur hat on, right? I'm like, and there's a business there.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking into that too, and there is a business there, but it doesn't quite justify itself at this point. The special materials, the what do they call it? The rare earth metals and things. It's too much work to get them out of these devices than it's worth at this point.
Absolutely, yeah. Or without some subsidies to make it work, right? But
well, maybe there's your answer. Maybe I don't know if that's the answer, but maybe that helps. Well, Chris, IGEL in this blog addresses a couple things, but what's the IGEL story and how's IGEL tackling this beyond what we've talked about so far?
Well, you can see here we highlight an organization, Green for Good, that addresses that very issue of securely, responsibly taking those IT assets, converting them into social good, I guess, if that's a new term. But how can we take that? So I think part of it is education, right? Helping them understand that you may have machines that do not need to be thrown away or recycled or whatever. And so extend the life cycle of those things. As we mentioned earlier, that lower power consumption, connecting to a cloud-based, pulling environmental, but also being able to take those devices and instead of, buying a new laptop, hand it out. I mean, you've kind of seen that with this whole student initiative that your son's doing. I can't imagine, my wife's a teacher, how many kids did not have I know she's told me stories of kids that didn't, there was their mom's machine or dad's, but they didn't have a machine at home that they could reliably use every day to do their work. And they would get behind on assignments and other things. And I just was thinking, like, there's got to be a way, right? What can we do here? But it's hard to know how many kids got lost when this whole, COVID thing hit. Right. But there's things like this that can really help solve a lot of problems beyond corporate waste and the things. You can take that and turn to a lot of good. There's a lot of need out there. So
So Green for Good is a organization that collects devices and tries to repurpose them back into a usable scenario.
Yeah, and you can see they've been raising money, and then they support different charitable organizations from around the world. And so a lot of this is hardware. And obviously the other big piece here too is this for new machines being built, the hardware component shortage around the globe, being able to take existing devices and give them extended life means you don't necessarily have to worry about as much of the supply chain when you've got an existing supply that works just perfectly fine in a world of cloud workspaces. So, but yeah, anything that can help reduce, a lot of that waste, the pollution. So I guess for the folks that are listening, certainly look around. Do you have old machines, old laptops, whatever, that can serve, give another life to them, right? Give another kick.
Yeah. And I think most people do, right? A lot of people have that generation 1 or 2 laptop generation ago, still sitting in a desk drawer, and luckily it's small enough for not taking up too much space, but they don't know what to do with it. They don't want to throw it away. But this is a great example, and my computersforcommunity.org is a great example of where you can send that thing, and we can securely wipe it out and put a new operating system on it, and then take it and get it to someone who needs it. Absolutely.
So, but yeah, this is like I said, this was obviously originally written for Earth Day, which is come and gone at this point. But we like to think that there's every day an opportunity to be thinking about the environment, how you can make it a little bit better, whether it's at home or in the corporate world or in the community. So, so if you haven't heard of Green for Good, certainly take a look and check them out. And if you are more interested, certainly in learning what can be done, by all means, those listening, reach out to XenTegra. They'd be happy to tell you more about what IGEL could do. And if you have devices that could certainly get another kick in life, right? Maybe give you a way better performance than what's running on that old Windows machine, perhaps.
Yeah. Certainly ties into today's modern day cloud world and the efficiencies, and still a good use case, a good user experience.
No doubt. By the way, how has your son's project gone? I mean, how many donations have you received with that program, by the way?
I think one local nonprofit we've been able to give about 50 computers to, which is good, but we're getting ready to take it to the next level. We've actually gotten a little more serious about it. We're forming a board, and we've hired a director. And so we're looking to take this thing into more of a national organization and really attack the problem bigger and head on.
Nice.
Yeah.
Your son, did you say your son was in Scouts? Because mine was too. His Eagle Scout project was not, it was something different, but it was definitely a worthy cause, giving back to a drug and alcohol overseas.
We didn't make it past Cub Scouts, or we made it to Cub Scouts at the end of that. This would have been a really notable Eagle Scout project, I guess.
Absolutely.
Nonetheless, we learned our reduce, reuse, recycle back then, and it's still a common comment around our house.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, very good. I didn't wear my green shirt like you, so I probably should have searched my. I've got one downstairs. I just need to grab it out, but
just a fluke today that I happen to have this one on.
Yeah, and I'm sitting here as we're talking. I just pulled up some printer ink. Sorry, my virtual background is. I got to recycle this, and so IGEL doesn't have a story around printers, but their story certainly. I do that on a regular basis. I at least recycle those things, get credit for it, and there's more ways than one you can help contribute to a greener world. So
yeah, there's plenty of opportunities every day to do something a little different. Well, Chris, thanks for joining, and we'll do it again next week.
All right. Take care, Andy. Thanks.
Thanks.